Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar on the Green Deal call. This is a completely new call within Horizon 2020, the current framework program for research and innovation of the European Union. My name is Judith Spenden, and together with my colleague Matthew Wellens, we will speak to you today. We both work as so-called national contact points, as NCPs, with Euresearch. Euresearch is the organization in Switzerland providing information and advice on the European Framework Programme for Research and Innovation. The aim of today's webinar is to explain you the background of this new call. We also will give you an overview of the call's contents of the concrete call topics. And last but not least, we want to raise your attention to a unique window of opportunity that is open at the moment, in that you can try to influence the draft contents of the call. We will speak for about 30 minutes, and we have reserved about the same time for questions at the end, or in the second part of the webinar rather. Now, you're all muted by default, but you can use the chat, or we invite you to use the chat to send your questions. You don't have to wait until the end, until after we have stopped speaking to write your questions, but you can just put them in the chat while they arise. We will, of course, send you the slides of the webinar in the coming day, together with answers to questions that we might not have right now, or we might not have the time to answer them at the moment. Now, the European Green Deal and also the Green Deal call, of course, are very new. The Green Deal is one of 6 policy priorities of the von der Leyen Commission, so the Commission that only took office late last year. And on this slide, you already see the main bold aim of the Green Deal policy, namely striving for Europe to become the first climate neutral continent. The Green Deal policy is communicated as being the new growth strategy for Europe. And in this figure, you see what it is mainly composed of. In the green boxes, you see the 8 priority areas of the Green Deal policy. And we'll come back to those later on. Now, the European Commission sees research and innovation in a prime position to deliver on the Green Deal objectives. So we expect that the new EU framework program, Horizon Europe, that will start at the beginning of next year, will be quite heavily shaped by this Green Deal policy, as well as, of course, by other EU policy, like the one on digitalization. But the Commission is already preparing a separate call, completely, fully dedicated to selected aims of the Green Deal policy that will run still under the current framework program under Horizon 2020. It's a call with a considerable budget of about €1 billion. This call, for those of you who are familiar with the structure of Horizon 2020, is a so-called cross-cutting one. So it is not a call that will be running under one of the societal challenges or of the programs of the industrial leadership pillar, but really encompass a lot of aspects from different parts of Horizon 2020. The European Commission keeps stressing that this Green Deal call is following a different logic than your normal Horizon 2020 call, in that the main aim of the call is to demonstrate that, yes, indeed, research and innovation can provide tangible solutions to accomplish the Green Deal priorities. Consequently, there is a huge focus on the expected impact of projects. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Horizon 2020, impact is already very much stressed in general, but with this call, it's even more so. In general, you'll have a very interdisciplinary, even transdisciplinary proposal who need to apply. You need stakeholders from academia, industry, public administrations, people who are concerned with a certain problem on board of your proposals. The expectation is also that projects can deliver tangible results within relatively short timeframes, say 4, 5 or 6 year project duration. And those results should be easily communicable to all types of stakeholders, including European citizens. This applies for the most part of the call. Consequently, in a lot of the call topics, you see requests for pilot applications and demonstrations, but also innovation for better governance is a hot topic, as well as social and value chain innovation. The call is structured into two main parts. The first part is composed of so-called main areas. Those are 8 areas which correspond one-to-one to the main policy areas of the Green Deal. In this main area, this is the part where projects are expected to deliver tangible results within quite a short time. It's also the way that topics have been chosen, that topics are set up that will result in those rather short-term results or quickly available results. Now, this main part is complemented by 3 so-called horizontal areas, which have a longer-term perspective. Those areas are strengthening the knowledge base, empowering citizens, and international cooperation. Everything we know to date on this Green Deal call is tentative, is still subject to change. This call is very much in the making, but the Commission has last week only published the draft text of the content of the call. What I forgot to mention before, this is a call that follows Horizon 2020 in a way that topics are defined top-down, they're predefined, and that consortia, quite large consortia at times apply, and not single organization. So everything that is known about the call is at the moment published, and this also goes hand in hand with the so-called public consultation. This is a survey where for each topic, everyone can express their opinion on the current plans of the European Commission. Now, as I mentioned, this window of opportunity to express your opinion on the plans of the Commission will already close Wednesday next week. And we very much encourage you to take this opportunity, to take a moment and with the call topics that could be of interest to you, flag your opinion about, how the topic text should maybe be adapted so that you can easily fit in your expectations, your expertise. Now, I'll briefly explain how this survey is structured. It's quite straightforward. It is composed of 2 questions where you can just mark how relevant you think the proposed topic was for a given strategy. And here I just included an example. This is the example of the farm to fork topic, but this applies to every single topic. The survey you can take for every single topic of the call. The second question is how convinced you were that projects will actually deliver the expected impacts. So far, so good. In the last part, you have a free text field where you can make concrete suggestions on how the Commission could improve the current status of the topic text. And this is really a unique opportunity to make your opinion heard. You also have the opportunity to actually upload entire documents, so you can make a suggestion on which part of the text should be changed and in which direction. If you have time and the opportunity, we also highly recommend that you liaise with people that are interested in the same topic, both in Switzerland but also abroad, because as many people as will raise a certain issue to the Commission, the greater the chances, of course, that this will be implemented and topics will be changed in that direction. Now, before I hand over to Matthew to introduce the actual contents of the call, I'd just like to raise your attention to the fact that for each topic, as the so-called type of action is defined. Now, these are quite self-explanatory. I just like to raise your attention, to the fact that with innovation actions, and this is about half of the call topics, the expectation is that projects take up already existing research results and do not actually endeavor in completely new research themselves. With that, I hand over to Matthew.
Okay, thank you very much, Judith. I'll just share my presentation now. So you should see now the area 1. So again, thanks, Judith. My name is Matthew Wellens, and I'm National Contact Point for Space and Industry. And I have the exciting, but I would say also challenging task to take you through the different areas. So the 8 thematic areas and the 3 horizontal areas. I say challenging because, of course, they're rather repetitive slides, but on the other hand, it's really we're getting down to the details now and to the structure of these topics. All the slides are structured in the same way. So you have on the top the title of the area. Then on the top in the middle, there's the overall structure of the call with the different areas and the horizontal areas. And on the right-hand side, you find the main contact point of interest for that specific area. That will be your first port of call for any detailed inquiries on that area. But of course, if there's questions that go across borders, we will then discuss them internally amongst us. So let's get going. Area 1 is increasing climate ambition cross-sectorial challenges. And this area has 3 topics in it. The first one is preventing and fighting extreme wildfires with the integration and demonstration of innovative means. So this is a research and innovation action, and it focuses on wildfires, as the text says. Projects here should really have a holistic approach to the wildfire problem. It should cover prevention and preparedness, including forecasting, detection and response, including fire containment, extinction, evacuation and recovery, and even post-fire restoration and adaptation. So the whole, let's say, process of the wildfire from the beginning to the end. Second topic, 1.2, is towards climate neutral and socially innovative cities. It's also a research and innovation action. The point here is cities must play a crucial role in helping Europe reach the targets of the Green Deal. So this action, the target of it is to develop a one-stop shop platform that would provide the necessary technical, regulatory, financial, and socioeconomic expertise and assistance to cities for developing and implementing their climate action plans. Actually, this topic also includes the possibility of financial support to third parties, means that this topic can then issue further calls to other entities. The topic 1.3 is climate resilient innovation packages for EU regions. It's composed of 2 different areas. This is about adaptation and resilience to climate change. It's actually a precursor of the mission that is being prepared in Horizon Europe. As I mentioned, it has 2 action areas. The first one is to develop region-specific portfolios of solutions, which would actually cover multiple aspects of society. And the second area is actually a supporting area to support the design, testing, and upscaling of innovation packages. So to support the first area, so to say. But these 2 areas go together. Okay, so we now go to the second area. Topic 2.1 is demonstration of innovative critical technologies to enable future large-scale deployment of offshore renewable energy technologies. So this is an innovation action, and it has to do with the ambitious target of the Commission to reach zero net emissions of CO2 by 2050. And of course, renewable energy has a big role there, and specifically offshore renewable energy has a huge unexploited potential there. This topic is about deployment, but also about integration and infrastructure. It's not only wind, it's also solar, wave, and tidal. And it's not only about the actual, let's say, energy structure, or for example, the floating devices, but it's also about electrical and possibly about integration and power conversion. The idea is to develop a demonstrator project with permits in place, and actually there's also a need for a go, no-go decision before deployment. Topic 2.2 is develop and demonstrate a 100 megawatt electrolyzer, upscaling the link between renewables and industrial applications. Of course, electrolysis is needed in order to produce hydrogen at large scale. And the Commission believes that in order to enable this transition, we need to develop a very large electrolyzer in the scale of 100 megawatts. This will be tested and demonstrated in a real-life condition, including issues to do with integration and issues such as economic viability, environmental footprint, safety, reliability, maintenance, all have to be touched in the project. About 50% of the budget here will be used for the development of the device and the balance of plant. So it's actually, this is a very specific kind of topic on a development of a specific device. Okay, so now we go to the area 3. Area 3 is industry for a clean and circular economy. It has 2 topics there. First one, topic 3.1, closing the industrial carbon cycle to combat climate change. It's an innovation action, and this topic focuses on greening of industrial and energy production by using CO2 emissions from industrial processes. So here we are looking at the development of catalytic materials and processes to convert CO2 to fuels and chemicals using renewable energy with better efficiency compared to today. Also here, there is a need for a demonstrator. Topic 3.2 is a demonstration of systemic solutions for the territorial deployment of the circular economy, innovation actions. And this is a rather more abstract project compared to the first, or topic compared to the topic 3.1. Here, projects should implement and demonstrate circular economy solutions in at least 3 territorial identities in Europe. This is not only about sustainability, but also about health, inclusiveness, and social justice. And the economic sector to focus on can be, there's a list available in the topic description, but for instance, could be waste, water, food, wood, packaging, and so on. This brings us to area 4, which is energy and resource efficient buildings. There is only one topic here, which is more or less the same as the title of the area, building and renovating in an energy and resource efficient way, an innovation action. Projects here should deliver large-scale, real-life demonstrators of technological and social innovations in the building and renovation sector. Of course, with the final target to reduce resource and energy usage. Here also, as in many other of the topics, a holistic approach is needed, and the whole value chain from design to execution to operation should be covered. Some keywords here are materials, recycling, energies and storage, smart home, and a demonstration should be carried out across different European geographical locations to demonstrate wide applicability and also highlight the differences. Area 5 is sustainable and smart mobility. Topic, there's only one, is green airports and ports as hubs for sustainable and smart mobility and innovation action. So here the focus of the project should be, as it says, on ports or airports, so one or the other. For airports, for instance, the key objective is a large-scale demonstrator of a green airport. And this should cover many different aspects which are listed. All of them have to be covered, such as transport within, outside the actual airport, terminal management, energy management, and also cross-cutting aspects. There should be one lead airport in the consortium and possibly 2 other following airports, and 15% of the budget will go to the lead airport. For the ports, it's a similar story. I won't dwell on it, but you can read all about it in the topic text. So area 6 is farm to fork. There is only one topic here, which is testing and demonstrating systemic innovations for sustainable food from farm to fork innovation action. So here the project should test, pilot, and demonstrate innovative systemic solutions, meaning that they should cover social, health, climate, environmental, and economic aspects to one of the following 5 challenges: climate neutral farms, achieving climate neutral food businesses, reducing use of pesticides and antibiotica, reduce food loss and waste, including packaging, and shifting to sustainable healthy diets. So the topic or the projects should address one of the following of the challenges I mentioned. So area 7 is restoring biodiversity and ecosystem services. Only one topic there with the same title. Focus here is on damaged ecosystems at land and sea. The point here is that there are solutions at the moment for restoration, but they're not upscaled and or adopted in today's directives and policies. So projects here should develop large-scale pilots, so regional, national, or even cross-border levels. And there should be a holistic approach sought, meaning that all relevant stakeholders should be involved, so that restoration can happen on a large scale and in a socially just, economically sustainable way. For example, incentives could be considered a little bit like we have CO2 tax, similar system, let's say, for biodiversity and ecosystems. Okay, Area 8 is a zero pollution ambition for a toxic-free environment. This area has two topics. The first one, topic 8.1, is innovative systemic zero pollution solutions to protect health, environment, and natural resources from persistent and mobile chemicals. It's a research and innovation action. The focus of this topic is on hazardous chemicals, specifically the very persistent and mobile ones, such as PFASs. Target here is to advance the knowledge on health and environmental impact and address one specific pollution problem, for instance, contaminated soil or water. The focus is on detection, monitoring, mitigating, and eliminating the contamination. Topic 8.2 is fostering regulatory science to address chemical and pharmaceutical mixtures, from science to evidence-based policies, research and innovation action. Here, the focus is on regulatory science for chemicals and pharmaceuticals mixtures. So we need to develop methods and tools to support future policies for potentially hazardous mixtures. Okay, so these were the 8 thematic areas, and now we start with the cross-cutting or horizontal areas. The first one is Area 9, strengthening our knowledge in support of the European Green Deal. So there are 3 topics here. The first one, topic 9.1, European research infrastructures, capacities, and services to address European Green Deal challenges. Research and innovation action. This should enable access of researchers in Europe to key infrastructures for 2 key challenges. The first being energy storage, and the second being monitoring of greenhouse gases, air quality, and citizens' health in cities. So 2 very diverse challenges, but these have been chosen for this specific topic. Topic 9.2 is developing end-user products and services for all stakeholders and citizens supporting climate adaptation and mitigation. It's a research and innovation action or innovation action. And here it's about enabling citizens, stakeholders, and decision makers to factor climate change and climate action into the decisions that will affect our lives for the next decades. Some keywords here are, for example, predictive models, knowledge dissemination, data platforms, and essentially bridging the gap between tools used by scientists and tools used by decision makers. Topic 9.3 is a transparent and accessible ocean towards a digital twin of the ocean. Innovation action. The target of this topic is to integrate all the different measurements that we have available for the oceans. At the moment, currently there are many of them from many different sources. So blend them all together, add knowledge in it, essentially make it a digital twin, and then finally making it usable for decision making. The second horizontal area, Area 10, is empowering citizens for the transition towards a climate neutral, sustainable Europe. Area 10 is all about active participation of citizens in the Green Deal transition process. The first of the 3 topics, topic 10.1, is European capacities for citizen deliberation and participation for the Green Deal. It's about citizen deliberation and participation. So projects here will establish networks of experts, international networks of experts and researchers, which specialize on deliberative democracy and civic participation across Europe. So they will then, these people, networks will develop participation and deliberation processes and tools to support the Green Deal, and will agree together with the Commission which topics will be actually implemented in these processes. Area 10.2 is behavioral, social, and cultural change for the Green Deal, research and innovation action. All areas of the Green Deal require considerable changes in the behavior of individuals, communities, and public and private organizations. So projects here will establish networks on behavioral, social, and cultural change. They will analyze social and behavioral change processes, share good practices, and basically then make a roadmap of how this behavioral, social, cultural change should happen. Topic 10.3 is enabling citizens to act on climate change and environmental protection through education, citizen science, observation initiatives, and civic involvement. Here, it's pretty self-explanatory, the topic text, so I won't spend so much time, but it's really about what is mentioned there. It's about how should we involve citizens through education, through citizen science, through actually making the citizens an active part of the science of the Green Deal. Which brings us now to the last of the areas of the call, area 11. Accelerating the clean energy transition and access with Africa and the Mediterranean. So this is about international collaboration. There's only one topic there, which has the same title as the area. And the proposals to be funded under this topic will cover the demonstration of innovative climate adaptation, climate mitigation, and sustainable energy solutions in the African social, economic, and environmental context. Area of focus should be, for instance, renewable energy sources, energy efficiency, and energy access in cities. Focus should be on the whole value chain, also keeping in consideration the features of the local supply chains. Okay, so that was a very quick and fast overview of all the areas. I hope I didn't lose your attention in those quite repetitive slides, unfortunately. But now we go on a different kind of topic, which is about what's coming next. What is the timeline? What are the next steps for you and for your organization? So as also Judith mentioned, there is a public consultation going on at the moment. So this means that the topics that I've just presented are not frozen. They are still evolving. And of course, you should keep an eye on the evolution of these topics. The final official publication of the topics and of the call will be in September. Currently, the date is the 21st, just before the Green Deal European Commission info session and brokerage event, which is planned in Brussels at the moment, or a mixture of Brussels and online event. So keep an eye on those evolutions. The deadline is in January 2021. So there are quite a few months before the deadline that allow you to work nicely on the topic and on the next steps. So the next steps are highlighted below. There's, of course, the first thing is to identify a topic where you think you can contribute. And of course, the project as a whole, so the whole consortium must cover all aspects. And this is really the challenge here, because many of these calls are very big in scope, and when the Commission defines a certain scope, it wants that all aspects are covered. There is then how to define the project around that will satisfy, let's say, that topic, and how to find a project team, a consortium that actually will support and will bring this project forward. Ideally, it's a sequential process, but in reality, it's not sequential, and the consortium definition, the project definition, and the topic identification often, let's say, go hand in hand. Of course, then all these activities funnel up in the proposal preparation at the end, which has to be handed in by the deadline. Euresearch, as an organization, can support you throughout this process. Certainly in the helping in the topic identification, in the helping with the consortium, and even the proposal preparation. We won't write the proposal for you, but we can for sure help in reviewing it. And one of the most frequent questions, and probably one of the most difficult questions to answer, is how do we get a consortium together? So this puzzle slide shows you some of the approaches you can use. They are not all suitable to all situations, but let's say, these are good ideas that can apply more or less in different situations. The first and most important one is the one on the top left. So you should use your network, which means your network of colleagues, fellow researchers, and also further connections of these close contacts of yours. This is always the best way to start. Of course, after that is done, or in parallel, another very good activity to carry out is the one on the top right. Look at what past projects have happened in the area of interest. So from this point of view, the CORDIST database of past framework program projects is a very useful tool. It has a very good search function that can be used to search according to countries, to topic, to kind of organization. And this is really good to see what kind of projects have been funded in the past, what was the outcome of the project, and what kind of organizations, which organizations have participated in the countries. Another good network is the COST network. Of course, there are many different projects which pull together organizations from all over Europe. This is also good to look at. There are then official partner search platforms. CrowdHelix is a commercial one, which is not necessarily connected to the EU, but it covers that as well. And then you have the more EU or Commission specific platforms like the one of the funding and tender portal of the Commission. Once the topics will be open, you will actually have partner searches published on the actual topic. Enterprise Europe Network also does partner searching help, assistance, and also we at Euresearch do that through partner search e-alerts. Brokerage events are another way of doing that. These are big events where people go and pitch their idea and meet potential partners. Of course, these have been now discontinued because of the coronavirus, but will start again. But on the other hand, many of these things are now online, which also make them very useful in the sense that some of these platforms are open all the time, and they are a good place to look at other organizations. And finally, last but not least, on the bottom right, there's Euresearch, which is made of NCPs. So we are, like me and Judith, based in Bern. We can help with partnering. We know our colleague NCPs in other countries in Europe, and so we can help also with that. And of course, we also have regional offices in all parts of Switzerland, and that's also another very important connection to the different regional realities of Switzerland. Okay, so that was the end of my slides. I will now hand back to Judith for the last few slides and then the introduction of the question and answers.
Thanks, Matthew. I hope that we could make you curious to have a closer look at call topics, the call topics that from the title they sound interesting to you, that maybe you find your expertise needed in the one or the other of the topics, that you take the effort to communicate in your networks in Switzerland, but also in Europe as a whole, your interest to take part in projects that will build up in response to this Green Deal call, but also to communicate your expertise related to the Green Deal, even maybe if it doesn't fit one of the concrete topics that is raised now in this first Green Deal call. This we're sure will be an investment also in participating in Horizon Europe, the next framework program. You certainly also realize that most of these topics are quite complex. Consortia will be quite complex, proposals will be quite complex, and you need quite a long breath to arrive at that EU funding. Keep in mind that you're not alone in this endeavor, that we are really there to help you at each stage of preparing participation in Horizon Europe, us NCPs and also our colleagues in the region. So please do not hesitate to contact us whenever you feel that maybe we could help you in a certain step. We have a subvention contract by the federal administration, by the State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. Our services are typically free of charge, and of course we treat all information confidential. Now we come to the second part of this webinar, where we hope we can answer some of the most burning questions that you have hopefully communicated to us in the chat. Matthew will basically read the questions to me, and I will give it a first try to answer them.